Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Johanna, and if you are new here, welcome, and if you are returning, welcome back. Now this is a different video than what I normally do. I did have someone in the comments in one of my other videos, and I'll link that below. I make mini happy planner traveler's notebook style covers, and someone had actually asked if I had a tutorial, and I didn't, but this is going to be my attempt at that. And I will have a corresponding blog that will go with this post so that I will list all the materials and the steps that I've used, but you can also just watch the video and follow along that way. Now I do plan to do 3 different videos like this, depending on how this one goes. This one will be the first one, and it'll be geared towards the mini happy planner using the mini rings. The next one I'm hoping will be for the mini happy planner using classic size rings. And then the third one, depending on how number 2 goes, will be for a mini happy planner with the expander rings, just in case some of you like the really chunky mini happy planners. So that's my goal for this series of DIYs regarding the mini happy planners. I don't see how this would work for either a classic or a big size, just because of the size of the laminating sheets that I have. So if you were to do it this method, I can get longer ones, and I actually ordered some, I think 9 by 18, so they're going to be really long, but my laminator is only so wide, so that's the problem with the big or the classic happy planner is I could perceivably get the thing to wrap around, but not the height. So this is going to be simply and strictly for the mini happy planner. And like I said in the blog, I'll list all of the various things that I've used. So for this size, you do actually need the longer laminating pouches. I picked this from Amazon, and I'll put that link below. This one is 8 by 9 by 14 by 4, and it's fine. I do have some other brands that seem to have some good reviews on Amazon. I'll be getting that next week, and I'll be testing that out. I've actually made both the one for the mini as well as the one that I'm currently using, where I'm using classic rings, and this works just fine. I think Office Depot, Office Max, maybe even Staples might have these sizes. I don't have a Staples here, so I couldn't tell you that for sure. Office Max, Office Depot, it's hard for me to get to those stores, so I usually just order these online. So again, the longer legal sized laminating pouches, and I got these really cute paper pads from my sister-in-law from Kansas. I think I've seen this brand, the Dear Lizzie. I don't know if this is from Hobby Lobby, Joann's, and Michael's. There was no label, which, I mean, it doesn't matter to me, but if you're trying to look for something the same, then this is what I'll be using today. Now she also sent me this one, which is from Amy Tangerine, and it's really colorful, but I believe when I was flipping through, there aren't duplicates. So that's not going to work for this purpose. Or maybe there are duplicates. Maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I'm not going to be using this one today. I'll actually have to double check whether there are duplicates or not. And the reason why that is important is because if you use just, well, for this video, for the mini happy planner cover with just the mini discs, then you can actually get away with just one sheet of paper, and I'll show you that. So let's pick one. I like this one. I think this one will be cute for Valentine's Day because I don't need another one, so I will probably put this in my shop. So what you'd need is a 12 by 12 piece of scrapbook paper, cardstock, whatever it is that you have in hand. This one's actually rather thick, so I'm happy with that. The legal size laminate that I have is a 3 millimeter. The ones that I have ordered from Amazon are, I believe, 5. So we'll see how that works because I like the 3 millimeter because it's still super bendy. Okay, so 12 by 12 sheet of paper. I hope this is in frame. We should be okay. And because I can't cut a straight line, I'm actually going to use my Fiskars paper cutter. Again, I'll link all of that in the description box below. I believe the Mini Happy Planner is 7.5 tall. So this is mine. Take this out. Yeah, with the covers, it's 7.5 tall. So I want my cover to be slightly higher than that. So I'm going to cut this first piece at 8 inches. I prefer to use really simple measurements just because I'm really bad at measuring. And then I will need an extra piece at 8 inches. And I'll show you why in a minute. Actually, we'll just do slightly less than 8 inches. And again, I will put in my blog the actual measurements for this. Now, if you want to make it super easy on yourself, you can just go to my Etsy shop and just purchase one already made. But if you want to use what you have on hand and make one of these on your own, then like I said, the measurements and all of that will be in my blog post, and I'll link that below. So that's all the cutting I believe we're going to need to do. Now I could just run this through the laminate without doing this next step, but because I not only do I use the pocket for my mini, like in this one, but sometimes I'll also stick things in there and I want it to be really durable. So what I actually do is tape it. And I made this mistake with some of the ones I was doing over Christmas, where I made the pocket on the wrong side. For me, it works out better if the pocket is on the back versus on the front. Now, because of that, I actually use packing tape to keep this together. And that's why I cut it a little short, so that it wouldn't go all the way to the end. And the direction of this inside pocket, to me, doesn't really make any difference. You really won't see it. That's why it's facing like that. So I'll go on silent, or I'll put music on because this is going to be kind of loud, and then I'll bring you back once I've done taping the sides. So that is the pocket attached, and that's how it's going to look folded over. Now, when I make my traveler's notebooks and when I make my mini happy planner covers, I like to round the edges. And because I have my crocodile, it just makes it really easy. This step isn't necessary, but because I do throw mine in my purse, and I believe it makes it a little bit easier on wear and tear, that's why I do it. And then I will put it in a laminating pouch. Apologize for the glare if there is one. And I will scoot this all the way to the end. And whenever you are laminating anything, if you have double thickness, the seal goes farther out than for the single thickness where the seal will be quite tight. So I do want to put the pocket side closer to the edge here versus having put this side, just because I think it'll make it sturdier, because I won't be cutting it at all. So there'll definitely be a little bit of overhang, which I am okay with. So I've got my laminator right next to me, so I think it's off camera, but you'll be able to see once it comes through. And I do laminate on the 5mm setting, even though it's only a 3mm thickness. I don't know why, but I just got into the habit of doing it, and so that's what I continue to do. And I typically run it through 3 times, so I'll at least 3 times, because I'm actually going to run it through 4. I don't know if you can see, and I won't know until I'm editing, but here where it's double thickness, the little bubble edge is actually a little bit farther out than here where it's only single. And you definitely do not want to cut that, because then it'll break the seal. Now you could actually cut right here to the line, because the paper is laminated, and because there's no double thickness, if you wanted to cut straight to the edge of the paper, you could certainly do that. But anything that has double thickness, this wouldn't be as secure as here where there's only just the one. And I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, leave me a comment below and I'll see if I can write it better than I can say it. So I'm going to run this through again. Second time running it through. Now, in order to have this as a functional pocket, you actually have to cut the laminate. And for this purpose, that's actually good, because both of your sides will be laminated, but you'll be able to use the pocket. And I actually don't always use the ruler. And you want to be very, very gentle with this, just barely skimming the surface, because what you want to do is open that air pocket to get a functional pocket. But what you don't want to do is cut through it and make a hole. So once you have it up, then you can just get open the sides, And you've got your functional pocket. Now, obviously underneath there is no laminate, but that's okay because on either side there is. Now, this isn't like one of those, I think it's Kiki K or one of those leather type covers where it's durable and it's going to last you forever. No, this is paper and laminate, and it'll be pretty. And the longest I had mine was a little over a year, and then the edges began to start to separate. But I mean, it was still functional. It's just I changed it to the mini happy planner that I'm currently using, and so yeah, and I switched them out because one, they're easy to make, and two, I can switch it out. I think it's a good idea to make one of these. I haven't seen them on Etsy or Instagram or YouTube, and for me, because I like the idea of having it covered so that I can throw it in my purse, but having it changeable to fit my mood, I love that idea. So I'm hoping you're enjoying this tutorial. I don't know how overall it's going to come out, but it's my second DIY tutorial. The first one was even easier. All I did was cut and punch, and I'll link that below. It was a vision board hack that you could use for your mini happy planner. So for all intents and purposes, that is done. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the laminator. And now we're just going to clean this up. So, because this is a 12-inch paper punch, what I have to do is actually cut this side first, and then I'll be able to clean up the long side. And I'm going to cut a little bit of ways. And because I don't know that it's absolutely straight when I inserted the paper, I'm actually basing my cut line from this line to the edge versus butting it up against here and assuming that it's straight. And it leaves a little piece, and I actually keep these because when I do my traveler's notebooks, and typically they're the B6 size, I like to include a washi sample, and that's what I use the little end cuts for, so that I can just wrap the washi around it and not waste. And then for the sides, I'm going to do the same. And again, cut a little bit farther away than you'd think, just because when it comes to my pocket area, I don't want to break the seal. And these little offcut sides, I'll toss those because I can't think of a purpose that I could use those for. And because laminate is super painful if you catch yourself on one of these corners, I also corner around the laminate as well. Now, because I do traveler's notebooks, I don't know if it's just because it's a smaller size or because I normally use the 1/2 inch size, but when I'm making these, I use a 1/2 inch size because that normally mirrors the rounded corners of the inserts that I put in. And this 1/2 inch side will not cut the laminate, so I actually have to freehand it. So if you are attempting this and you don't have a corner punch, don't worry, you can just round off the edge, and then when you're doing the laminate, just follow the rounded edge. Again, you don't have to round it. I just find that it's a little bit more durable and it's less likely to poke you. Now, if you do have a corner rounder, but it isn't a crocodile, I would definitely do a tester piece first. I did have one when I was first starting making my traveler's notebooks, and I don't have it anymore because I broke it, because I tried to punch a laminated piece and it just, it was not happy and it decided to break. So this one is definitely sturdier, and if you're doing like paper corner rounding, you can get several, and the 1/4" still works fine on the laminate. So I believe I got this from Amazon. I'll link it below if I can find it. If not, if you have like a Michael's or a Joann's or Hobby Lobby or whatever from where you are, if you're doing stuff like this, I definitely think it's a good investment. I use mine all the time, so I'm thankful that I have it and that it still works. But if you're just doing one-offs, then you may just want to, like I said, just round it by hand. It's not that drastic. So this is the book. Now you could leave it as is and then just kind of, you know, make it stay, but I actually use my scoreboard, and again, I'll link it below. And I shop predominantly at Amazon because it's the easiest for me to get things from, and because I'm a professional passenger, they have the largest selection of items, and it's easiest for me to get things from. So if I'm always saying I'll link it below, it's mostly because I probably get 90% of my things off island via Amazon. Now, it doesn't matter which way you actually score it, but the page I know is 12 inches. So again, I can't rely on just butting it up because it takes into account that there's that little edge of the laminate. So I actually have to lift it and then butt up the paper on the 12-inch side. And I do a number of scores because my spine is going to be 2 inches. So from 6 inches, I will score every every 1/4 inch until I get to 7. And then on the opposite end, I will do the same until I get to 5. And that way it gives me a nice way to fold it over. And I'll move this out of the way and I'll show you that. And that's all I do. I don't score it deeply, I just score it enough so that it'll give me a little bit of a bend. Now the one that I do really fold down is the one right in the middle, the 6-inch one. And then the rest, what I'll do is I'll just sort of just bend it over slightly, just because I want that rounded edge. And you could certainly do it on the 1/2 inch. You could just decide to do it on the 6 and then on the 5 and the 7. But I like how it makes it more rounded, and not just because it's a happy planner, because I do this also for my traveler's notebooks. I just like that it gives it a more rounded edge than a boxy one. But that's just my personal preference. I have seen YouTubers do it a variety of different ways. So that is that. Now you see it's much easier to stay closed. And this is a happy planner on mini discs. So if I just slide this in, it will close with no overhang. And that's why 12 by 12 or 8 by 12 works perfectly for the mini. Now, the reason I say that is if I put in this one, which is on classic discs, I will still protect the rings, but it sticks out, and I don't like that. So in the next video that I will be doing, I'll show you how I compensated for that, okay? So again, this size, the 8 by 12, will fit a mini happy planner on the original mini discs. Now you could certainly leave it like that, and I believe Happy Planner has those bands that you can wrap that way, but I like to use my crocodile and punch a hole in it and then set an eyelet. So we'll use a gold. And I just eyeball it, and because I need this as a functional pocket, I'm not going to punch it in the front or punch it in the back where I normally would do it, but rather punch it in the front. And I just eyeball it, I don't measure, and punch the hole, put in this little brad eyelet, I'm not sure what it's called, and I'm hoping you can see, and then I'll just use that to pinch it down. And then as you can see, it's nice and pinched and it's nice and flat there. And I don't worry that it's going to hurt my Happy Planner because I keep the original Happy Planner cover on there, which is quite thick. I think it's a 10mm, and because it is, I don't know if you can see that, it is quite flattened, I don't worry that it's going to puncture it. Now, this isn't the elastic that I'm going to use. I'll probably just color coordinate it with something else I have in my stash, but I had this next to me, and the way I measure that out is I fold it in half, and then I measure it against the width of the cover. Tie it in a double knot, and then I'll just thread it through. And I don't have any next to me right now, but what I'll probably do to finish this off is, and there, I mean, it stays close. So what I'll do, like I did for this one, is I'll take one of the little crochet bows that I have done and I have a stash of, I don't have any handy right now, and I'll glue it so that it butts up right against there, so it kind of hides it a little bit. And just to put this one in, it closes, and there you go. So that's my tutorial on doing a mini Happy Planner Traveler's Notebook style cover that fits the mini rings. And I'm hoping that I can get to my stash, change out the elastic to something that matches better, and then also glue a crochet bow here, and I use E6000 for that, and then do a final pick to include in this video. Like I said, the measurements and the instructions on how to do this will be in my blog, and I will link that below. And if you have any questions or comments, definitely leave that for me as well. I worry when I do these, especially when I do a DIY tutorial, that my limited space makes this hard for you to either understand or watch or get through. So feedback is good. Please give me feedback, because I do like to do these things, and hopefully someone will find this useful for their own mini Happy Planner. I will be doing another one where I do a cover that can fit a classic mini Happy Planner, or a mini Happy Planner on classic rings, I should say, as mine is. I'm sorry, my space is tiny, so I have to throw things either to the side or behind me. So the one we just did fits these mini rings. The one that I'll do next time fits these classic rings. And when I get to the even longer laminate sheets that go to 18 inches, I'll see if I can create one that will fit the expander rings. Just because, again, I know that there are planner babes who really like chunky minis. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Like I said, if you have any comments or thoughts, please leave that below. If you have not already done so, please subscribe and like this video. And as always, aloha. Just pull you close.